Hello everyone. Let's go through my July budget. So I'm going to show you guys exactly all of the categories that we have planned for July and what kind of money we have planned to spend. It is myself, my husband, and my toddler in our family, so that is who we budget for. I'm just going to kind of break down each of the categories that we have, and we'll go through what our July budget is going to look like. I will also show you guys what my debt payments are going to look like for the month of July as well. They might be a little bit more than what we talk about, but we'll just kind of see what we have planned and what kind of makes sense financially for us, looking at it from an overview of my computer here. For July, we have a set amount of $5,545.49 for all of our bills. So I do have a whole like fixed expenses bills section. This just kind of in very simple terms puts down all of our fixed expenses, and then I just have that go directly into this cell right here. So you can see that it's grabbing it from that fixed expense category. So the fixed expenses are about to have a huge change because we should be closing on our house in less than 2 weeks at this point. So if you haven't seen my previous videos, we do have a second house. We used to live in it. We moved into this house. We kept that other house because we thought maybe we would Airbnb it or something, and it just didn't work out for us. And we ended up sitting on it for a lot longer than we wanted to. But we put it up for sale and got an offer on it, and now everything is in the process to hopefully be closed here pretty soon. As long as everything goes to planned, which we did get an update. It sounds like everything is still right on track. So when we sell that house, we are going to make a good amount of money from it. We're going to take the majority of that money and put it into the market or some sort of investment. We're going to get a financial advisor that we're going to sit down and talk to and just kind of see what the best option is for that money, because it is a lot of money that we just want to make sure that we're doing it right and having met our goals, because we want to use some of it short term for a down payment on a new house eventually, in like 4 or 5 years. But we also like we don't want it to be too risky, but so that's kind of where I like, yeah, I've done enough research to where I'm like, I kind of know what would be the best idea, but I want to talk to someone who does this as their job every day, a financial advisor, and see what they think we should do with the money. So, a portion of that money, though, is going to go to my student loans, which we'll talk about that once we've got the money in hand and I'm able to pay on my student loans. My point saying, though, is that our fixed expenses are going to drop when it comes to August. Hopefully, if it doesn't, if we don't, if the house for whatever reason, if the sale falls through, we'll be fine. Like we'll just continue what we're already doing. But if it does go through and we sell that house, our fixed expenses are going to drop by $1,089 per month. Not only that, but even more so because of the energy bill that we pay for there. I couldn't think of the word, but the energy bill that we pay for that other house, and then we've shut off all the internet and all of that. So, but that savings will be really nice. And then also cushioning some investments for us will be really nice as well. So, for now, July seems to be the last time we made that house payment, but we'll see what happens. So, right now I'm in a deferred payment plan, or like an income driven payment plan for my student loans. So right now it tells me that there is no payment due, but it does tell me that payment will start in August. So starting in August, I will make my student loans a fixed expense. But for right now, it just says that zero is due. So I'm still making payments on them anyways, as you've seen if you've seen my previous videos. But I am going to make that a fixed expense. So even though we're losing the house in our fixed expenses, we will gain the student loans in our fixed expenses. So we're just going to pretend like the house situation, like that payment, we're not even going to count on it. Like, we're just gonna roll it right into the student loans, basically. So we're just nothing is going to change about our lifestyle. That payment is just gonna go to my student loans instead of to that other house. So monthly, at minimum, I will make the $1,089 payment towards the student loans, including the other amount that I'm throwing onto it every month, which is around 1,000 to 1,500. So that is how we are really going to tackle those student loans, along with the bigger chunk of payment from the sale of the house. So I digress. I kind of went on about that for a long time, but for groceries this month, I have $750 set aside for that. For our TP fund, we have $100 set aside for that for the month. That's just the collect all household expenses or any other spending kind of like that. I'm going to change this to instead of it saying TP fund, I think I'm just going to have it say household fund, but that's for another time. So $100 for that. I have $100 set aside for our son. That's if he wants a toy or to get signed up for anything, or if I take him to like some sort of event or whatever he's interested in. We did take $20 out in cash already. So $20 in cash went into his little piggy bank in his bedroom. And so that leaves $80 for us to sign him up for something, do something fun, buy a toy, whatever he is interested in. I have $50 set aside for gas. So because I have a hybrid vehicle and we use Fuel Saver, $50 is plenty for my car. My husband, his truck gets paid for through his job. So both his he drives like a company vehicle and then they also pay all of his gas. So that's why we only ever have to pay for gas in my car. We also do have a third vehicle. It's a really nice car for my husband. He worked really hard to get it. It is paid off. It just but it's a nicer fun car for him. It's in our garage. We don't drive it like barely ever. So, but it does have a full tank of gas if my husband decides to drive that. For fun money, we have $40 set aside. I usually use this for ice cream or just something like small and fun for us. We have $40 set aside for our dog, our German Shepherd here. We use Menards rebates that my husband gets through his job. So, because he has a like a family run business, they do a bunch of Menards purchases for it. And then he is the one that gets to just keep the Menards rebates. It's just kind of like a benefit that his like family lets him have from working there and from being the one that is always like up on ordering everything. So we use the Menards rebates to get her food, but every once in a while we'll get her treats or like a new toy or something like that. So we do have $40 set aside for her. For subscriptions, we have $70 set aside for our subscriptions. I have YouTube Premium and we have Netflix. Um, and I think that might be all that we have. Oh, we have obviously our we have cameras outside of our house everywhere. We pay for our cloud storage for the camera system that we have, and then we do Spotify as well for music. I also for the subscriptions, I know I've talked about subscriptions in the past, but I did just like cancel a bunch of subscriptions that we had. I talk about it in another video about how subscriptions can really creep up on you, but I did cancel a bunch of them, and so that's why I don't know if we'll even reach $70, but I do have $70 set aside for subscriptions. My husband works on the road in the summer a lot, and he likes to go and just get his lunches at gas stations or at restaurants or like fast food restaurants. So, him and I have talked about him taking food, which he is more than open to, but it will increase our grocery budget quite a bit. So, we were just kind of like weighing our options to see what is actually going to be cost saving versus like what's going to be more of a headache to us. So I think we've kind of figured out that we'll buy like snacky food for him, and that way it'll kind of help with his gas stations. But for the most part, we're just going to set aside $300 a month when he's out on the road. He makes enough money to cover the $300. So I'm not going to So I don't have an issue with that. In the winter months, he works from within the shop a lot more, so that is when he's able to take his food or be cheaper. So for the summer months, though, we just kind of, get through the $300 that we put aside for him. I have $120 for eating out for the month. We are trying to do everything we can to eat in the majority of the month, but I know there's going to be a couple times that we're going to want to either get takeout or something because we're just not going to feel like cooking. So it is very expensive to eat out right now. So that is why I'm putting aside $120. And I imagine mm, that'll maybe get us like 3 or 4 times to eat out. I have $50 for miscellaneous spending and holiday. I took those out in cash. For the miscellaneous spending, I've never taken cash out for it before, but I just thought that it might be a good idea to kind of keep us in check. Maybe spending cash will be a little bit better for us. So I took out 50 for miscellaneous spending. I gave 20 to my husband. I kept 30 because I'm the one that's always with our son whenever I go to stores or whatnot. So that's how that kind of got split up. And then the holiday spending, we took out $50 and that was for 4th of July. We went up to a street fest. We actually did it yesterday. We ended up spending $55. I just went through everything that I spent in the day at the street fest. So we were able to get some tickets for my son to kind of have fun for a little bit. There was like bounce houses, a little train, a petting zoo, all of that. And then the $10 was plenty for him to like do tons of stuff because each of the bounce houses was only one ticket each. And then we got some food there and whatnot. And then we did get kettle corn as well. So we ended up spending $55. The extra $5 just came from my husband. He had $5 in cash on him. So we used the $55, all of it in cash, and I took out the 50 from our budget here. In total, that brings us to $7,215.49 for our total budget for the month. That is what we're expecting to spend, or maybe less than if we can do a little bit better with what we're spending where. But as like we have kind of noticed in the past, we pretty much stay right on budget or we usually spend sometimes a little over. So trying to do a little bit better about making sure we stay on budget or under budget. That is the goal for July. Um for debt payments, I am going to be paying $1,000 towards my student loans next week. And then, like I said, we are closing on the house hopefully so like as long as everything continues to go as planned with with the sale of the house, we should be able to make a pretty good student loan payment by the end of July. So I'm just going to put $1,000 on it now, save whatever else I make from my own income the rest of July, and then at the end of July, hopefully make a payment with some of the money that we make from the sale of the house. Overall, our expected income for July is 11,000 is over 11,000. So it's 11,000 plus. I don't know the exact amount that it's going to be, but it'll fall probably between like middle ground 11,000, like 11,500 or something like that. Spend expected $7,215.49 from our budget. I'm going to do $1,000 on my student loans next week, and then the rest of it will go into savings to cushion our savings. Um, and then we'll just kind of from there. We've been making some really decent money on our high yield savings accounts because we have at least 2.5 months of expenses in one of them. And then the other one, we have, I think it's like got $5,000 in there or something that it just kind of sits at. So we've been enjoying making some money on our high yield savings accounts, but eventually we will take some of that money and just put it onto student loans once we've racked up enough savings. So we'll just kind of like get it up, save, and then take a chunk of it, put it on the student loans, whatnot. So at least until the student loans are paid off. Goal is to still have them paid off by next year. I'm hoping that they can be paid off by next June, but I did some math. I kind of did like a whole student loan planner situation where I calculated out how much I'm going to pay in interest, what loans I'm gonna try to tackle first since I have multiple of them. And I found out that I'm gonna be like $3,000 short, so we'll probably have to go into next July or August. So my goal is this year is to try to figure out different ways that I can make an extra $3,000. So I'm gonna test out some side hustles and stuff. So I will make a video on what side hustles I'm choosing and maybe take you guys on a journey of figuring out what side hustles are like the best to get started in and which ones end up making me money. So I know that they're going to be like a slow roll at the beginning, but maybe eventually by next year around this point or like around maybe like April or so, I can start to make some money on some side hustles. That way I can try to put as much money towards that as possible to try to close that gap so I can pay them off by June. I'm crazy for wanting to have them paid off within a year, but I think doing so is just going to maximize how much we can save, especially because our goal is to get a bigger house someday and we want to put at least 20% down on a newer house. And so that is why we just need to like get it moving with like all of our savings and stuff. But along with putting money on 20% onto a new house, we are also going to increase what we're investing in for retirement. So I want to try to get to a goal where I'm maxing out my retirement accounts through my job at least, and then also having enough savings set aside to put towards 20% down on another house. So we'll just kind of see what happens. And like I said, I mean, it's not like a necessity that I get rid of the student loans by next year. That's just like a wish that I have. Um, so I just want to get rid of those, and we're just kind of chilling until then. It's kind of fun actually. It sounds weird, but it's kind of fun to do like little budgeting challenges for yourself. Even if like keep in mind you don't have to be struggling financially to put yourself on a budget. So like being on a budget, if anything, is like going to give you even more financial stability and like really help you to feel secure in your financial situation. So, we've just kind of enjoying like especially the 4th of July street fest yesterday for us to put a $50 budget on that. Like any year before that, we just swipe or spend like however we want to. And we just think about it later. And then we're like, oh, dang, we spent like $120 there. So, it's just kind of nice and fun to be like, "Ooh, can we do this for $50? Like, do you think that we could make it work?" It just kind of gives you more of a thought process behind what you're spending beforehand rather than looking back at what you spent after you already spent it and being like, "Dang, that was expensive there." So, that's kind of like it's just little challenges like that that my husband and I are putting towards ourselves to be like, "Ooh, can we like spend this much? Do we think that we could do it?" And then if we go $5 over like we did yesterday, it's fine. Like it's not the end of the world. It's just kind of fun to see if we can do it. That is what our budget looks like for July. I will give you guys a student loan update once we know that at least the house is going through. I don't know why. We're just like w- everything's going along as planned for the other house. We're just waiting for something to go wrong for some reason, but it seems like everything is going along well and we will have that house sold. Once that happens, then I can give an update even more on what the student loan situation looks like. And then we can get into a good plan for the student loan payments for the next year. I'll kind of talk about what the plan is of how much I'm going to put towards it every month and all of that to kind of talk about how I can get them gone by next June. I will see you guys in my next video and have a wonderful rest of your day.